set to become a Manchester City player today ahead of a £20 million move from Crystal Palace. Hi there, welcome along to Good Morning Transfers. 2 weeks remain in this January transfer window and Pep Guardiola has made 2 statement signings. They aren't the only team hopeful of getting deals over the line before that 7 p.m. deadline, though. We'll run you through all the big talking points this hour in the company of former Spurs defender Stephen Kelly and our reporter Danielle Calm. We've rushed him down from Manchester. Coming up. Morning to you all at home. We've got so much to get into and we're going to kick off with arguably the transfer of the window so far. Marc Guéhi's move to Manchester City. We will be live at Palace's training ground in a moment to see how they might replace him. But first, let's go live to the Etihad Stadium and join our reporter Ben Ransom. Good morning to you, Ben. We'll get to Chris Nightingale shortly. But Ben, can we expect confirmation of this deal today?
Look, mate, you would imagine so. Manchester City's players have to gather and then fly off to Norway for a Champions League game against Bodo Glimt tomorrow. So you'd imagine that the people behind the scenes will be looking to try and get this done, especially as Marc Guéhi was here to complete his medical yesterday. We saw him land in the morning. He then had a comprehensive medical here at a clinic close to the City Football Academy. And once that was completed yesterday evening, we got word that this deal is now just in the hands of the lawyers. It's all been agreed, that £20 million deal. We know that Marc Guéhi's team have agreed personal terms. They just need the lawyers to sign off the final bits and then wait for City to do the announcement, however they see fit to do. But you're right to bill this as one of the signings of the window. Maybe the signing, maybe that'll be Antoine Semenyo. Maybe the two can fight it out in their first training session together. But look, what great signings for Manchester City right in the middle of a Premier League title race, which really does give them a much needed boost, doesn't it? Especially when you consider the fact that they have slipped 7 points now off the pace and behind Arsenal, who set the lead at the top.
They could, of course, waited until the summer, saved themselves around 20 odd million, which in Paul Merson terms is not a cup of tea, you would say. So why did they decide to make this move this month?
Yeah, not a cup of tea, but when you consider the fact that this is an England international central defender, someone whose star has really risen over the last couple of seasons, whenever he's been thrown in, either for club or country, he's looked very assured, he's clearly developed. Although he's predominantly right-footed, he can play on the left-hand side of a back two, which, given the fact that Marc Guardiola is out for, we expect at least much of the rest of the season, that would leave a huge hole in the Manchester City defence. And I think it's just too good an opportunity to turn down. So often we hear, don't we, particularly from the big clubs in this window, they're not specifically looking for players, but if an exceptional opportunity presents itself, then they may do business. Well, look, as far as City are concerned, 2 exceptional opportunities presented themselves. 2 players who were coveted by other Premier League teams, big Premier League teams, in Antoine Semenyo and Marc Guéhi. And City have beaten their rivals to both of them in the middle of a season, in the middle of a title race. So because of those defensive injuries, you think back to what we saw at the weekends and that defeat in the derby, and particularly in the second half, defensively, City did not look very assured at all, did they? That's now 4 Premier League games without a win, 3 draws and now a loss, which has seen them slip behind Arsenal and that gap grow to 7 points. At this stage, to bring in someone of Guehi's undoubted quality and experience is a really huge statement from City, and you have to think it will galvanise the squad in the final few weeks and months of the season. And certainly, if I was an Arsenal fan, I would certainly be looking with a little bit of trepidation at what City have done, because they've certainly strengthened in a really difficult window.
Top word, thank you, Ben. I'm sure you'll let us know as soon as anything happens on the Guehi front. Appreciate it. So, City gain an experienced player. Crystal Palace lose their captain. Chris Nightingale is at Selhurst Park for us. Morning to you, Chris. Good to see you. I mean, it has been a pretty turbulent weekend, hasn't it, for Crystal Palace? Not just the Guehi news, but now uncertainty around the manager, Oliver Glasner. Looks like he's going sooner rather than later, at best, end of the season.
Yeah, morning, Matt. I mean, turbulent is exactly the word for it. If we go back to Friday's news conference, he announced that club captain, as you mentioned, Marc Guéhi, would be departing the club, and then goes on to say that actually he would be leaving too, albeit in the summer when his contract expires. He was disappointed with the Guehi news. We then had the defeat to Sunderland, and he chose his post-match news conferences and interviews to voice his frustrations with the hierarchy at the football club, saying that he didn't feel supported and that he felt abandoned. But Oliver Glasner is a very emotional manager. We've seen that in his time at Crystal Palace and at his previous clubs. His team aren't winning. He didn't win again at the weekend, and he hasn't actually won a game in 10 matches, so we can see where that frustration is coming from. But the club, despite those comments, said they want to support him. They want him to be here until the end of the season, fulfil his contract.